And Diane to Prima, make some more noise. Okay, now that you've made some noise, close your eyes. I'm serious, close your eyes for a minute. Just give them a rest. A lot of sun out there. Nothingness of intelligence. Silver sunlight through closed eyelids. That's it, that's a haiku. Here's Diane.
Michael will be back. I hear that Alan Cohen and others probably did too, but I wanted to bring Timothy and Alan in here today. And they were here the first time. I was at Millbrook with my kids. But this is a poem I wrote for Timothy when I went to visit him to say goodbye in Beverly Hills a couple of years back. He asked for a poem on the spot, so I wrote him one. Oh, Quicksilver, fellow traveler, the light in your face carries so many through the windy tunnels, hope and fear. Hey, Timothy, old friend, thank you for the laughter, the quick hand. I'll always remember the holy mysteries of autumn equinox at Millbrook, dimensions warping around us. The sacred mysteries this summer, spring equinox of Beverly Hills, as we reach to bloom and bloom again out into all of space.
Yeah.
And Timothy said, and we're only just beginning. This is a poem for Allen Ginsberg I wrote this April. Allen's face stares up at me from a dozen newspapers, never to give his stiff and upright form another hug. No more vegetarian concoctions at varsity townhouses. No more lucid, humorous analysis of puzzling political climate. Not to be buddies again on some committee to spring a friend from prison or raise bucks for yet another civil liberties trial. No more late hours and punk dives reading poems together for lamas or dharma centers or expounding Buddhist theory 2 a.m. into green room mics for Pacifica Radio. No time to fuss that he doesn't take care of himself. No more presentation copies with funny drawings of flowers, suns, and Buddhas. No chance to meet next generation of pretty boy poetry groupies, borrow coffee on Boulder summer mornings. No one to ask me about my sex life, my kids, my grandkids' sex lives. No more that warm, deep, beautiful voice coming between us poets and our troubles, real or mind-created. No rich, funny gossip, latest literary news from around the world, grandfatherly, unlooked for, and unused poetry advice. No warrior of unspoken directness, unabashed songs of the most detailed, embarrassing, and personal moments of all our lives. No more. Why not? I'm going to end with one more poem. It's from an old series of poems, but it's fairly new. The series was called Revolutionary Letters, and I was reading it in the park about 30 years ago. This is a new one, though. It's called Rant. Rant. You cannot write a single line without a cosmology, a cosmogony laid out before all eyes. There is no part of yourself you can separate out saying, this is memory, that's sensation, this is the work I care about, this is how I make a living. It is whole, it is a whole, it always was whole. You do not make it so. There is nothing to integrate. You are a presence. You are an appendage of the work. The work stems from, hangs from the heaven you create. Every man, every woman carries a firmament inside, and the stars in it are not the stars in the sky. Without imagination, there is no memory. Without imagination, there is no sensation. Without imagination, there is no will, desire. History is a living weapon in your hand, and you have imagined it. It is thus that you find out for yourself. History is the dream of what can be. It is the relation between things in a continuum of imagination. What you find out for yourself is what you select out of an infinite sea of possibility. No one can inhabit your world, yet it is not lonely. The ground of imagination is fearlessness. Discourse is videotape of a movie of a shadow play. But the puppets are in your hand. Your counters in a multi-dimensional chess, which is divination and strategy. The war that matters is the war against the imagination. All other wars are subsumed in it. The ultimate famine is the starvation of the imagination. It is death, to be sure, but the undead seek to inhabit someone else's world. The ultimate claustrophobia is the syllogism. The ultimate claustrophobia is it all adds up. Nothing adds up, and nothing stands in for anything else. The only war that matters is the war against the imagination. The only war that matters is the war against the imagination. The only war that matters is the war against the imagination. All other wars are subsumed in it. There is no way out of the spiritual battle. There is no way you can avoid taking sides. There's no way you cannot have a poetics. No matter what you do, plumber, baker, teacher, you do it in the consciousness of making or not making your world. You have a poetics. You step into the world like a suit of ready-made clothes, or you etch in light. Your firmament spills into the shape of your room, the shape of the poem, of your body, of your loves. A woman's life, a man's life, is an allegory. Dig it. There's no way out of the spiritual battle. The war is the war against the imagination. You can't sign up as a conscientious objector. The war of the worlds hangs here, right now, in the balance. It is a war for this world, to keep it, a veil of soul-making. The taste in all our mouths is the taste of our power, and it is bitter as death. Bring yourself home to yourself. Enter the garden. The guy at the gate with the flaming sword is yourself. The war is the war for the human imagination. And no one can fight it but you. And no one can fight it for you. The imagination is not only holy, it is precise. It is not only fierce, it is practical. Men die every day for the lack of it. It is vast and elegant. Intellectus means light of the mind. It is not discourse. It is not even language. The inner sun, the polis, is constellated around the sun. The fire is central. Thanks.
Hey, thank you, Diane. You know, I look out there and I think about 30 years ago when this was, when a similar group of people was the first human being in the Summer of Love, and I was on stage with that, reading poetry. Allen Ginsberg was on stage. We just heard Diane's poem for Allen. I heard somebody mention Gary Snyder and quote Gary. just as I came driving in an hour or so ago. And also up on top, the electric generator was a member of the Hells Angels, Freewheelin' Frank being the guard for it. The Grateful Dead were playing. It was a great big act of imagination. And this seems to me this is a 30-year extension of the same act of imagination, and it seems to me I see more people out there today. What is this act of imagination? Is it growing? I think it is. I have one poem to read, and it's called Poem Beginning with a Line by Prima, and it has that line you heard Diane use in the last poem she just read. Let me see if I can get this off of here. Okay, beginning with a line by Prima. The only war that matters is the war against the imagination. The only love that shatters is the love of despondence and horror. The only honor that shines is the one that smashes the lust for duty. Any crime that diminishes the soul is not credible, such as the foulness of stuffing one's gut with the junk of greasy meat and consumerist propaganda, of filling one's nose with drugs and cutting off the beaks from chickens and then loading them with poisons and light and madness and eating their eggs and spirits. Body and spirit are all one thing. It is just one war, and the bomb has already exploded. There is time to look your love in the eyes and say, no more. In my insides, I am a man or woman. I am heart and lung and meat and vein and breath, going back through a deep phylogeny. I am a deep old history made new for the first time in the smiling guise of the universe that whispers my breathed air and my soft toes. Why then am I handed this garbage? These lies that are told over and over and grow tighter and tighter and prey on my health. Why am I diminished and portrayed as a fool and told to buy and consume till I am only a fool? How come I am a tool of this explosion, a tool of tools in the midst of this slow motion blow up? Stand up. Get off your back and turn off the box with the moving pictures. The only war that matters is the war against the imagination. The only honor that shines is the one that smashes the lust for duty. It is your duty to absorb the social propaganda and become crazed with the need for overpopulation and to stimulate the greed to devour what has been out there for 1 billion years and to burn petroleum in endless and countless flames in the ceremonial vehicles and the machines that change the climate. It is duty to torment the innocent and less privileged and to tease right out of their homes and lives 1 million species of brother and sister beings. The finances of rock and roll sing anthems of beer straight into your ears as you shove your green paper over the counter to trade for burgers that are fried in the tallow of cows grazed where once there were forests in the Amazon. The only war that matters is the war against the imagination.
Ladies and gentlemen, Michael McClure and Diane Prima. Let's hear it for them.